Hi, everybody. Welcome basically to my classroom for a little while. One of my friends started doing this thing where she started reading for her students one of her books that she really likes. I'm going to do something kind of different. I know we have been talking about the American Revolution, and so I really wanted to find a book that I could read to y'all even though I'm not physically there. This is something that I've always wanted to do during class, but really never had the opportunity to. So I, like I said, kind of have to go with it with all of this going on. And I don't have the physical book, so I'm going to be reading to you from my laptop. And we are going to be reading The Revolutionary War on a Wednesday. This video will be the first maybe 2 chapters, and then I'll make another one for next week. That can be the next 2 chapters. So let's do this. It says, wait, chapter 1, Wednesday. Wake up, Jack, Annie whispered. Jack opened his eyes. He looked at his clock. It was 6 a.m. Come on, Annie whispered. She was standing at his bedroom door, already dressed. Now? Said Jack. Yeah, it's Wednesday. We have to go to the tree house, she said. Oh, man, Wednesday, said Jack. Suddenly he was wide awake. We have to help save Camelot, said Annie. I know, said Jack, scrambling out of bed. Me out front, said Annie. Jack quickly changed into his jeans and t-shirt. He threw his notebook and pencil into his backpack. Then he slipped down the stairs and out the front door. Annie was waiting in the gray early light. All set? She whispered. Yep, said Jack. They took off running across their yard. They ran down their quiet street into the Frog Creek woods. Soon they came to the tree house. They climbed up the rope ladder. In the early light, they saw Morgan's note, the same note they'd found Sunday. Jack picked it up and read aloud. Dear Jack and Annie, Camelot is in trouble. To save the kingdom, please find these 4 special kinds of writing for my library. Something to follow, something to send, something to learn, something to lend. Thank you, Morgan. Annie picked up a piece of paper lying on the floor. It was a list of rules from the famous nurse Clara Barton. They had met her on their journey to the Civil War. On Sunday, we found the first special writing, said Annie. Something to follow. Yeah, said Jack, and now we need to find the second thing. Something to send. He picked up a book lying near the note. The cover showed the soldiers on a snowy riverbank. The title was The Revolutionary War. Jack frowned. Uh-oh, said Annie. Another war, said Jack, sighing. You still want to go? Said Annie. We have to, said Jack. He hated suffering. He hated the suffering he'd seen in the Civil War, but they had no choice. They had to help Morgan and save Camelot. He pointed at the cover of the book. I wish we could go there, Jack said. The wind started to blow. The tree house started to spin, and it spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. So Jack and Annie are now going on a trip. And as we can tell, they're going to the Revolutionary War. The Magic Treehouse, as we know, is a series. So some of this stuff is jumping back to other stories that they've already talked about. Like they talked about Clara Barton and meeting her. She was a Civil War nurse. So now they're going to go into the Revolutionary War. So I hope we're ready. Chapter 2. Day or night? Jack shivered. The wind blew hard. It's cold, he said. He could see his breath in the air. Wrap your scarf tighter, said Annie. Jack looked down. He had a wool scarf around his neck. He was also wearing woolen pants that buttoned down at the knees, a coat with a hat with 3 corners. On his feet were funny-looking shoes with buckles. In place of his backpack was a leather bag. Ooh, so it seems like everything Jack was wearing, he had changed into jeans and a t-shirt. Now he's wearing woolen pants and a coat and a hat with 3-point corners. So if we think about it, maybe this hat had a point here, a point here, and a point here. Maybe this hat was a part of the uniforms that they wore. So let's keep reading. Annie was wearing a long coat over a long dress. Jack pulled his scarf tighter. Then he looked out the window with Annie. They landed in trees near an icy river. The sky was gray and heavy with clouds. It's almost day, or almost night. Can't tell, said Annie. Yeah, I hope it's almost day, said Jack. I wonder if we'll find something to send, said Annie. Jack shrugged. First we have to find the Revolutionary War, he said. He opened the research book. By the gray light he read, over 200 years ago, the United States was made up of 13 colonies ruled by Britain. From 1775 until 1782, American patriots fought for their independence from Britain. This was called the Revolutionary War. Ooh, we knew that word. We learned that word. Jack took out his notebook. He wrote, American patriots fight for independence from Britain. Jack turned the page. There was a picture of soldiers in red uniforms. Ooh. Before I read the next part, I hope we all know who the soldiers in the red uniforms are. Also, I wanted to show you this picture. We talked about what Jack was wearing. There's his 3-point hat and his jacket and his scarf, and then her dress that she's wearing. So they changed while they got to ship off in this magic treehouse. It says, Jack turned the page. There was a picture of soldiers in the red uniforms. He read aloud. During the Revolutionary War, British soldiers wore red uniforms. For this reason, they were called redcoats. Jack wrote in his notebook, British equals redcoats. Wow, snow, said Annie. Jack looked up from his writing. Annie was holding out her hand in the window. A few snowflakes flew into the treehouse. Not much yet, said Jack, but we better find the special writing soon. Well, stop reading and come on, said Annie. She buttoned up her coat and they started down the ladder. Okay, said Jack. He packed the research book notebook back into his bag. Then he followed Annie. When they stepped onto the ground, there were more snow flurries. The sky was growing darker. I'm afraid it's almost night instead of day, said Jack. Yeah, said Annie, looking around. Hey, look, people! She pointed up the river. In the misty distance was a campfire. Several men sat around the fire. They all held muskets. Maybe they can help us, said Annie. She started away, but Jack grabbed her. Wait, I think they're soldiers, he said. They have muskets. Remember the muskets from the Civil War? The guns that the soldiers carried? Oh, yeah, said Annie. They might be redcoats, said Jack. Let's sneak closer and get a better look at their uniforms. Quick, said Annie, before it's too dark to see. So I'm going to stop there, and I will post the next video for next week. We will continue reading this. I'm so glad we're going to do this, and I hope y'all love it. If you want me, I think we'll get through this one pretty quick. I should be getting another book in the mail from my friend. Y'all know Miss Stovall. She sent me my I Survived books that she was giving to me. So maybe, if y'all want me to, after we're done with this one, we can read the I Survived the American Revolution and see the difference between the two. So I'm so excited for this. I cannot wait to continue. I will talk to you very soon. Bye.